My name is Maya Chin, and for 28 years I'd been the family embarrassment. My brother Derek? He was the golden child. MBA from Wharton. Started his tech consulting firm at 26. Drove a Tesla Model S. Wore custom suits. Our parents introduced him as our successful son, the entrepreneur. Me. I was Maya. She does something with computers. I worked as a systems analyst. Decent salary. Quiet life. I lived in a modest apartment in Austin, drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic and kept to myself. Family gatherings were torture. Derek would talk about his clients, his revenue growth, his expansion plans. Mom and Dad would beam with pride. Then they'd turn to me. And Maya, are you still doing that tech support thing? I'd correct them every time. Systems analysis. I designed database architectures for. That's nice, honey, Mom would interrupt. Derek, tell us more about your new office. Derek's company, Apex Consulting Group, had grown to 43 employees. They occupied the entire third floor of the Crawford Building in downtown Austin. Glass walls. Standing desks. A cappuccino machine that cost more than my monthly rent. We're scaling fast, Derek would say at every family dinner. Revenue hit $8.2 million last year. On track for $12 million this year. What they didn't know was that I'd been watching Derek's business for years. Not because I was jealous. As I was worried. Derek was brilliant at sales. Terrible at operations. His company burned through cash like wildfire. High overhead. Excessive spending on client entertainment. Lease payments that made my eyes water. But I said nothing. I was just the disappointment. What did I know about business? In 2019 I made a decision that would change everything. The Crawford Building went up for sale. The owner, Margaret Crawford, was 86 and wanted to retire. The building was a boutique commercial property. 6 floors, prime downtown location. Occupied by 4 businesses including Derek's company. Listed at $14.2 million. I'd been saving and investing since college. Living below my means. Maxing out my 401k. Building a portfolio. By 2019 I had $3.8 million in liquid assets. Not enough to buy the building outright, but enough for a substantial down payment. I met with Margaret personally. We talked for 3 hours over tea in her penthouse apartment. Why do you want this building? She asked. Long-term investment, I said. Stable tenants. Good location. And I hesitated. My brother's company is one of your tenants. I want to make sure he has a stable landlord. Margaret smiled. You're protecting him. He doesn't know that. And I'd like to keep it that way. We structured the deal through an LLC, Crawford Properties Holdings. Margaret carried a note for $10.5 million at favorable terms. I put down $3.7 million. The building cash flowed immediately. Rent from the 4 tenants covered the mortgage, property taxes, and operating expenses with $8,200 monthly surplus. Derek's company paid $34,000 per month for their third floor space. Market rate. Fair deal for both sides. He never knew his little sister owned the building. I kept working my systems analyst job. Kept driving my Honda. Kept being the family disappointment at dinners. But every month rental income flowed into Crawford Properties Holdings. Every year the building appreciated. By 2024, the property was valued at $18.6 million. And Derek still had no idea. In early 2024, Derek announced his latest plan at Sunday family dinner. We're expanding to the 4th floor, he declared, cutting into his steak. Apex is hiring 20 more people. We need the space. Mom clapped her hands. That's wonderful, honey. Dad raised his glass. To Derek's continued success. I said nothing. Because Derek hadn't asked building management about the 4th floor. I knew because I was building management. The 4th floor was occupied by a law firm on a 5-year lease that didn't expire until 2026. The landlord's some LLC, Derek continued. Total absentee owner. I'll just offer them more money. They'll break the law firm's lease. Easy. My stomach tightened. But I stayed quiet. Maya, Mom said, turning to me. How's your little job? It's fine, I said. Still doing computer stuff? Dad asked. Database architecture, I corrected. Derek smirked. Mom, Dad, Maya works in IT. She's basically tech support. Resets passwords, fixes printers. Right, sis? I met his eyes. Something like that. You know, Derek said, leaning back, I've been thinking. Maya, maybe you should come work for me. I could use someone to manage our tech. It's not real business work, but it's better than whatever you're doing now. The offer hung in the air. Mom and Dad looked excited. Administrative work, Derek clarified. Maybe $55,000? That's probably more than you make now. I made $186,000 as a senior systems analyst, plus another $96,000 annually from the building's cash flow. I'll think about it, I said. Derek grinned. Let me know. I'm doing you a favor, really. It'd be nice to have family around, even if you're not exactly executive material. 2 weeks later, Derek called me. Hey Maya, quick question. You work from home sometimes, right? Yes, I said. Perfect. So you don't really need an office. Here's the thing, we're bursting at the seams at Apex. I'm converting the small conference room into workspace for 2 new hires. But I need somewhere to put some equipment temporarily. Okay, I said slowly. There's this tiny office on our floor. Like 120 square feet. We've been using it for storage, but it's technically vacant. I'm going to move our old servers and some filing cabinets in there. Should be fine, right? The tiny office he was talking about was MY Office. When I bought the building, I'd kept one small space for myself. Officially, Crawford Properties Holdings leased it. I used it maybe twice a month to handle building business, review financials, meet with the property manager. It was quiet. Private. Derek, I think that office might be. It's just sitting empty, he interrupted. Total waste of space. Don't worry, I already talked to property management. They said it's cool. He hadn't talked to property management. He'd sent an email that my property manager forwarded to me with a note. How do you want me to respond? I'd replied, stall him. But Derek had taken silence as approval. I arrived at the Crawford building on a Tuesday morning. I needed to review some lease documents and sign off on a roof repair estimate. When I stepped off the elevator onto the 3rd floor, I froze. My office door was propped open. Inside, 2 workers were assembling metal shelving units. Boxes of old equipment were stacked against the walls. My desk was shoved into the corner, covered with Derek's company files. I walked inside. Excuse me, what's happening here? One of the workers shrugged. Boss said to set up storage. You need something. Before I could answer, Derek appeared in the doorway. Maya. He looked genuinely surprised. What are you doing here? This is my office, I said quietly. Derek laughed. Your office? Maya, you don't work here. This building is commercial space. You can't just claim an office. I lease this space, I said. From who? Derek crossed his arms. Come on, sis. I know you're struggling, but you can't squat in my building. Your building. Apex's building, Derek corrected. We're the anchor tenant. We basically run this place. Look, I get it. You probably thought no one would notice. But this is professional space. For actual businesses. The workers had stopped assembling shelves. They were watching us. Derek, I have a lease agreement for this office. Sure you do, Derek said. Let me guess. You made friends with someone in property management and they're letting you use it under the table? Maya, that's not how the real world works. My phone was in my hand. I could have pulled up the LLC documents right there. Shown him the ownership structure. Ended this immediately. But something stopped me. I wanted to see how far he'd go. I need you to move your equipment out, I said calmly. Derek's smile faded. Are you serious right now? Maya, I have a business to run. Real employees. Real revenue. Real responsibilities. You're going to throw a tantrum over 120 square feet. It's my office. It's storage, Derek snapped. And frankly, I'm doing you a favor by even explaining this. Most landlords would have just changed the locks. You're not the landlord, I said. No, but I'm the one who pays $34,000 a month to keep this floor running. That gives me some authority. Unlike you, who probably can't even afford a storage unit. The workers were openly uncomfortable now. Derek stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take whatever personal items you have in here. And let's be honest, it's probably just a laptop and some sad desk plants. And you're going to leave. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with building management. but I guarantee they're going to side with their biggest tenant. I looked at my desk, at the shelving units, at my brother's face twisted with condescension. Hey, I said. Derek blinked. Okay. I'll clear out my things. The triumph in his expression made my stomach turn. Good. That wasn't so hard. And hey, if you really need office space, I'm sure we can find a Starbucks with Wi-Fi. I started gathering my belongings. A few files. A framed photo. My desk lamp. Derek watched from the doorway. You know, Maya, this is why you haven't gotten ahead in life. No backbone. No fight. Just acceptance. Mom and Dad tried to raise us both to be ambitious, but I guess some people are just built different. I unplugged my laptop. I mean, look at you, Derek continued. 28 years old, working some entry-level IT job, can't even afford real office space. Meanwhile, I'm running a multi-million-dollar company. Do you understand the gap between us? I packed my files into a box. It's not an insult, Derek said. It's just reality. Some people are leaders. Some people are support staff. There's no shame in that. Well, maybe a little shame. But that's life. I picked up my box. Looked at him one last time. I'll be out of your way, I said. Derek clapped me on the shoulder as I walked past. There you go. See, this is growth. Accepting your limitations. I'm proud of you, sis. I walked to the elevator. Pressed the button. The doors opened. As they closed, I pulled out my phone. Opened my email. Found the message from my property manager. Still want me to stall Derek on the 4th floor expansion? I typed a response. No. Send him the formal lease denial. And prepare eviction paperwork for his company. 30-day notice. Effective immediately. I hit send. Then I called my attorney. Rachel, it's Maya. I need you to draft a formal lease termination for Apex Consulting Group. Yes, the whole floor. Breach of lease terms. Unauthorized use of non-leased space. Hostile behavior toward building ownership. I want it delivered by process server tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was nervous. Because I was meticulous. I reviewed every document. Every lease clause. Every email Derek had sent to property management over the years. The evidence was clear. Apex Consulting had made unauthorized modifications to their space without approval. Accessed and occupied non-leased areas. Repeatedly ignored property management communications. Failed to maintain required insurance coverage discovered in my review. Any one of these was grounds for lease termination. At 7:45 a.m., I sat in my car across the street from the Crawford building. I watched the process server enter. Watched him take the elevator to the 3rd floor. At 7:58 a.m. my phone rang. Derek. I let it go to voicemail. At 8:03 a.m. he called again. Voicemail. At 8:07 a.m. a text, call me now. At 8:11 a.m. another call. This time I answered. What the FUVK, Maya? Derek's voice was shaking. Did you do this? Do what? I asked calmly. Some guy just served us with an eviction notice. Says we have 30 days to vacate. This is insane. I'm calling a lawyer. You should read the notice carefully, I said. It outlines the lease violations. Lease violations? We're the best tenant in this building. We pay on time. He stopped. Wait. How do you know about the notice? Maya. What did you do? I took a breath. I didn't do anything, Derek. Crawford Properties Holdings LLC made a business decision to terminate your lease. Silence. Then, what the hell is Crawford Properties Holdings? The company that owns the building you're standing in. More silence. What does that have to do with you? I'm the managing member, I said. I've owned the building since 2019. I could hear Derek breathing. You're lying. The ownership documents are public record, I said. Travis County Clerk's Office. You can look them up yourself. There's no way you could afford. I purchased it for $14.2 million with seller financing. The building's current value is approximately $18.6 million. Your company pays $34,000 monthly in rent. Well paid. Past tense now. Maya. His voice cracked. You can't do this. We have 43 employees. We have clients. We have contracts. We can't just move in 30 days. You should have thought about that before you kicked me out of my office. That was a storage room. It was leased space, I said. To my LLC. You occupied it without authorization. You also accessed the fourth-floor stairwell last month without permission, made modifications to the HVAC system without approval, and failed to maintain the required $2 million liability insurance policy as specified in Section 7.3 of your lease. How do you? I'm the landlord, Derek. I know everything that happens in my building. I could hear him breathing heavily. Please, he said finally. Maya, please. I'm sorry about yesterday. I was stressed. I didn't mean those things. You can have the office back. You can have 2 offices. Just, please don't do this. The eviction stands, I said. Our business will collapse. Derek shouted. Do you understand that? We can't find new space in 30 days. We'll lose clients. People will lose their jobs. You're destroying everything I've built. No, I said quietly. You built your business on leased space. You never owned the foundation. And you treated the person who actually owned it like garbage. I'm your brother. Yes, I said. You are. The brother who called me support staff. Who said I had no backbone. Who offered me a $55,000 job as a favor when I make $186,000 a year. Who mocked me at every family dinner for 12 years. The brother who told Mom and Dad I was the family embarrassment. Who said I'd never amount to anything. Who kicked me out of my own building. Derek was crying now. I could hear it. I'll tell Mom and Dad, he said. They'll make you stop. Tell them what? I asked. That the daughter they've ignored for years owns a $18.6 million commercial property? That the disappointment has been your landlord for 5 years? Go ahead. I'd love to hear that conversation. You're destroying me, Derek whispered. No, I said. I'm running my business. Just like you taught me. I'm making a decision based on what's best for my asset. You're a problematic tenant. You're being removed. It's nothing personal. Just business. I hung up. At 9:47 a.m., exactly as I'd expected, the calls from Mom and Dad started. I let them all go to voicemail. By noon I had 47 missed calls and 89 text messages. Mom, Maya Renachin, call me right now. Dad, what did you do to your brother? Derek, I'll sue you for everything. Mom, how could you be so cruel? Derek, please, I'm begging you. Dad, this family is falling apart because of you. Derek's business partner Aaron, we need to talk. Please. I was sitting in a coffee shop reviewing the lease termination with my attorney on Zoom. They have any grounds to fight this? I asked Rachel. She shook her head. The lease violations are clear and documented. They occupied non-leased space, made unauthorized modifications, and they're 2 months behind on their insurance requirement. Any judge would uphold this termination. How long before they're actually out? If they comply, 30 days. If they fight it, we'll have them forcibly removed in 45 to 60 days. But fighting it will cost them $40,000 in legal fees they can't afford. My guess? They'll negotiate. What kind of negotiation? They'll beg you to let them stay. Offer to pay more rent. Promise to be model tenants. Derek will probably offer you equity in his company. I smiled. His company that's about to implode because they have no location? Exactly. My phone rang. I answered this time. Maya Renachin. Mom's voice was shaking with rage. What is wrong with you? Hi, Mom. Don't you hi Mom me. Derek is in tears. His entire company is falling apart. And you're doing this to punish him over some office. I'm terminating a lease with a problematic tenant. He's your brother. Yes, I said. And for 28 years, you've made it very clear which child you value more. I'm simply running my business. Your business. Mom laughed bitterly. Maya, stop this fantasy. You can't afford to own a building. Is this some scam? Did you forge documents? Because Derek's lawyer is going to. Mom, I bought the Crawford building in 2019 for $14.2 million. I've owned it for 5 years. Derek's company has been paying me $34,000 monthly in rent. That's $2.04 million I've collected from him over the years. You can verify all of this through public records. Silence. You're lying, Mom finally said. But her voice was uncertain. Travis County Clerk. Property records. Crawford Properties Holdings, LC. I'm the registered agent. How? Where did you get $14 million? I didn't need $14 million. I needed $3.7 million for the down payment. I've been saving since college. Investing. Living below my means while Derek drove his Tesla and you bragged about his success. But you're just tech support. I finished. That's what you call it, right? I'm a senior systems analyst, Mom. I design database architectures for Fortune 500 companies. I make $186,000 a year, plus another $96,000 annually from the building cash flow. I could hear her breathing. Why didn't you tell us? She whispered. Because every time I tried, you cut me off to ask Derek about his business. Because every family dinner became a celebration of Derek and a dismissal of me. Because you introduced him as our successful son, and me as Maya, she does something with computers. Because telling you would have required you to actually listen to me. And you never did. Maya, that's not fair. Derek called me support staff on Sunday. Offered me a $55,000 job as charity. You and Dad laughed. You thought it was generous. He was trying to help you. I don't need his help, Mom. I never did. I needed my family to see me. To respect me. To stop treating me like the consolation prize child. But you couldn't do that. So I stopped trying. This is about revenge? Mom's voice rose. You're destroying your brother's life because your feelings were hurt? No, I said calmly. I'm enforcing a legal lease termination because Derek violated the terms of his tenancy. The fact that it feels like revenge to you says more about how you've treated me than about my business decision. Your father wants to talk to you. There was shuffling. Then Dad's voice. Maya. Stop this immediately. No. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. You will reverse this eviction, you will apologize to Derek, and you will offer him favorable lease terms to make up for this embarrassment. Or what? I asked. Or you're no longer part of this family. The words hung there. I laughed. Real laugh. Dad, I haven't been part of this family for years. You just didn't notice because you were too busy being proud of Derek. We are proud of Derek. He built something. He took risks. He built something on land I own. Using rent money I collected. In a building I purchased while he was still bragging about his series of funding that fell through. Dad, Derek's company isn't successful. It's over-leveraged, poorly managed and hemorrhaging cash. I've seen his financials. He's 3 months from insolvency even with his current location. You're lying. His overhead is $126,000 monthly. His average revenue is $180,000. That leaves $54,000 for payroll, benefits and taxes for 43 people. The math doesn't work. It never did. He's been paying himself $220,000 annually while his employees make $45,000 and work 60-hour weeks. I've watched him nearly collapse twice. The only reason he survived was because I kept his rent stable when the market would have justified a 40% increase. Silence. I've been protecting him for 5 years, I continued. And he thanked me by kicking me out of my own building. So now he gets to see what happens when he doesn't have his little sister quietly keeping his foundation stable. Maya. Dad's voice cracked. Please. He's your brother. He made a mistake. Don't ruin his life over this. He ruined his own life by building a company on sand and treating people like garbage. I'm just the earthquake that exposed the foundation. I hung up. 3 days later, Derek showed up at my apartment. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Wrinkled shirt. Dark circles under his eyes. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside. He walked to my living room. Looked around at my modest furniture. My 7-year-old TV. My bookshelf full of technical manuals. You really do live like this, he said. It's not an act. Why would it be an act? Derek sank onto my couch. Put his head in his hands. I spent the last 3 days going through everything. The property records. The purchase documents. It's all real. Yes. You've owned my building for 5 years. Yes. And you never said anything. Would you have listened? I asked. Derek looked up at me. His eyes were red. Probably not. I sat in the chair across from him. I can't move Apex in 30 days, he said. I've been calling every property manager in Austin. There's nothing available that fits our needs and budget. Even if there was, the disruption would kill us. We'd lose at least 6 clients during the transition. That's $2.8 million in annual revenue. We'd have to lay off 20 people. I know, I said. My business partner wants to sue you. Our lawyer says we'd lose, but Aaron's desperate. Half the staff is already looking for new jobs. They can see the writing on the wall. What do you want, Derek? He met my eyes. I want you to let us stay. Why should I? Because I'm your brother. Because I'm begging you. Because. He swallowed hard. Because I'm sorry. For what specifically? For yesterday. For the office. For. No, I interrupted. For what specifically? Because if you're just sorry I have power over you now, that's not an apology. That's fear. Derek stared at me. Then slowly something shifted in his expression. I'm sorry for 12 years of treating you like you didn't matter, he said quietly. For every time I made you feel small. For every family dinner where I dominated the conversation and dismissed your work. For calling you support staff. For offering you a job in my company like I was doing charity. For kicking you out of your own building without even considering that maybe I didn't know the whole story. Tears were streaming down his face now. I'm sorry for never asking about your life. Your job. Your dreams. For never wondering how you were doing or what you were building. For treating you like the family failure when you were quietly running circles around me. He wiped his eyes. And I'm sorry for not seeing you. For not respecting you. For taking you for granted. You deserved better. You deserved a brother who celebrated you instead of one who made you feel invisible. I felt my own eyes burn. I don't deserve for you to save my company, Derek continued. I know that. But I'm asking anyway. Not because I have any right to. But because I'm desperate and I have 43 people counting on me and I have nowhere else to turn. I stood up. Walked to my kitchen. Poured 2 glasses of water. Brought them back. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Derek took the glass with shaking hands. The eviction stands. His face crumpled. But, I continued, I have another property. A building in South Austin. 5,000 square feet. 2nd floor. It's currently vacant. Market rate rent is $28,000 monthly. I'll lease it to you for $22,000. Derek looked up. That's a $12,000 monthly reduction from what I'm paying now. Yes. But there are conditions. Anything. You get your insurance requirements current immediately. You submit all modification requests in writing. You pay rent on the 1st of every month, no exceptions. You treat my property manager with respect. And you cut your own salary to $120,000 until you're profitable. Derek blinked. That's a $100,000 pay cut. Your company is burning money, Derek. You're paying yourself like a successful CEO while running a struggling startup. Cut the overhead. Reinvest in your people. Get profitable. Then you can raise your salary. He nodded slowly. Yes. I'll do it. One more condition. What? Sunday family dinner. You tell Mom and Dad the truth. All of it. My job. My income. The building. How long you've been my tenant. Everything. Derek swallowed hard. They're going to be devastated. Good, I said. Maybe they'll finally see me. That Sunday, Derek and I arrived at our parents' house together. Mom opened the door. Her eyes were puffy. She'd been crying. Maya, sweetheart. Let's eat first, I said. Then we'll talk. Dinner was silent. Awkward. Dad couldn't look at me. Mom kept starting to speak, then stopping. Finally, over coffee, Derek cleared his throat. Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something. They looked at him. For the past 5 years, I've been renting office space from Maya. Mom frowned. What do you mean? The Crawford Building. Where Apex is located. Maya owns it. She bought it in 2019 for $14.2 million. She's been my landlord this entire time. Dad's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. That's impossible, Mom said. Maya doesn't have that kind of money. She does, Derek said. She's a senior systems analyst. She makes $186,000 annually. plus another $96,000 from the building cash flow. She's been successful this entire time. We just never asked. But, Mom looked at me. You drive a Honda. You live in that small apartment. You never. I live below my means, I said quietly. I invest. I save. I build wealth. Just because I don't advertise it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Why didn't you tell us? Dad asked. I tried, I said. Every family dinner. Every phone call. But you cut me off to talk about Derek. You introduced me as Maya. She does something with computers while calling him our successful entrepreneur. You made it clear whose achievements mattered. Mom's hand went to her mouth. Last week, Derek continued, I kicked Maya out of her office in the building she owns. I called her support staff. I told her she had no backbone. I mocked her in front of my employees. Derek. Dad's voice was strained. She evicted my company. Legally. Rightfully. And I deserved it. Derek looked at me. But she's giving me a second chance. A new space. Lower rent. Better terms. Because unlike me, she actually values family. Even when that family has treated her like garbage for 12 years. The table was silent. Mom stood up abruptly. Walked to where I was sitting. Pulled me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. I felt the tears come then. All the years of being invisible. Being dismissed. Being the afterthought. Dad stood too. Wrapped his arms around both of us. We failed you, he said, his voice breaking. We were so proud of Derek's flash that we didn't see your foundation. Forgive us. Please. Apex Consulting moved into their new space in May 2024. Derek cut his salary. Laid off 3 executives who were dead weight. Promoted 2 hardworking junior staff to senior roles. Got profitable in 4 months. He paid rent on time. Every month. First of the month. No exceptions. Mom and Dad came to my apartment in June. Spent 3 hours asking about my work. My investments. My dreams. Actually listening. They started introducing me differently. This is our daughter Maya. She's a systems analyst and a real estate investor. She owns commercial property in Austin. In August, the law firm on the 4th floor of the Crawford building didn't renew their lease. Derek's company was ready to expand. I approved his request for the additional space. Fair market rate. Professional terms. At Sunday dinner, Derek stood up with his wine glass. A toast, he said. To my sister Maya. My landlord. My teacher. The person who showed me that real success isn't about flash. It's about foundation. I'm proud to be your tenant. And even more proud to be your brother. Mom and Dad raised their glasses. I smiled. To family, I said. The one you're born with. And the one you build. We drank. And for the first time in 12 years I felt like I was actually at the table.